Hello everyone, very good evening and welcome back once again to the StudyIQ IAS English. My name is Abhishek Singh and today I'm here live in front of you with the next part of our RS Sharma ancient history covered, and in this we are also including the references from both Tamil Nadu board textbook as well as from the new NCERTs. However, I hope that this session is definitely going to add some value to your expected learnings, and in fact, if you are a serious aspirant looking for some concrete concepts about the ancient history, then this class is definitely going to help a lot of you, right, in that way. So good evening everybody, Abhishek, and good evening Muhammad Noor Bakht and Aisha Kushag. Very good evening to all of you. Guys, quickly share this session with your friends as well, and I hope that they also join the session within time. So let's get started because it is already a little bit late. Okay, so today we will be talking about the Mesolithic age, and also we will be trying to get a bit of introduction of the Neolithic time period. So if we talk about the Mesolithic age, okay, so Mesolithic age, what does it mean? What is the meaning of Mesolithic? Arka, good evening to you also. Meso basically means the middle one, okay, the mid one, or something in between, okay, and lithic indicates the stone, right, stone related. So something related to the stones or rocks, okay everybody. So the stones or rocks etc., they are basically termed as lithic. So Mesolithic means the Stone Age which lies in between the two different era of the Stone Ages. Okay, the two different Stone Ages, Old Stone Age, okay, Old Stone Age and New Stone Age. In between that, Mesolithic or the Middle Stone Age. Alright everyone. Now if we move further, right, and let us understand that the meaning of Mesolithic is clear to everybody. Similarly, there are a lot of new things to be learned, and if you are planning to streamline your preparation, if you are planning to appear for 2024 Civil Services Examination and to crack that in the very first attempt, you can enroll yourself in the July morning batch starting from 10th of July. Available in the bilingual, pure English and pure Hindi medium, and if you use this code ASR Live, you are going to get this program just at the cost of rupees 30,000. Now moving to the topic. So first of all, we will talk about hunters and herders. See, I had already explained to you that the key features to define any particular era, that was the right, only two things were there: the type of the tools, and the second thing, that is the practice of survival, So when we talk about the Mesolithic period, the human beings, they had graduated from the food gatherers, okay, and hunters, that was their criteria, their behavior in the Paleolithic time period. Okay, from the Paleolithic time period, when we look at the development of the human beings, they undergo a transition, okay, and this transition will enable them, make them able to do what? Make them able to continue with the food gathering and hunting, but at the same time they will also start herding. Herding means what? Herding means the animal husbandry, or we can say the domestication of the animals. Okay, domestication of the animals. Now the question arises in the mind. Namaskar, Purushottam ji. The question arises in our minds that why did the human beings start the animal husbandry? What was the requirement of that? So let me give you a brief overview about this change, this transition. Okay, so what happened that at the end of the Pleistocene period or a Pleistocene era, basically Pleistocene era, that was the ice age. Everything was covered, right, under the ice. But at the end of the Pleistocene, as I had discussed in the very first lecture, that the cyclic rise in the temperature of the overall Earth's atmosphere, that led to the rise in the surface temperature also, and eventually the ice melted, resulting into the grass, the growth of grasses and such vegetations which were quite dense. Okay, and why did the dense vegetation grow on the earth? Because the warm temperature led to the evaporation of the molten ice and the other moisture present in the atmosphere, leading to the increased rainfall. And when there is high rainfall, high humidity and the presence of warm temperature along with the soil, all these are the favorable conditions to help the vegetations grow in a faster way, because the rate of photosynthesis that will increase. So this became a scientific reason for the growth of dense vegetation, and therefore such areas, such areas where the stone tools were available, such areas where the settlements could be possible because of the less dense vegetation. In those areas, around 9000 BC, the subsistence started changing. The subsistence, the way of survival, the way of living, that started changing, and the early humans, they started not just hunting, not just fishing, not just food gathering. They were doing all these things since quite a long time, but they started domestication of some of the animals. The earliest animals which were probably domesticated, they were dogs. Why? Because dogs were mostly used in the guarding activities, in the protection, as well as creating the alert. Okay, creating the alerts for the risk. Sometimes they were also taken for the escorts. Okay, taken for the escorting the group of the human beings towards a place. Right now, so all these things, we can say, they collectively resulted into the transition of the human life, human behavior, and this transition, it resulted into the new pattern of living and new practice to survive. I hope all of you got the clear idea. Now, if we talk about the Mesolithic period, you can see the identification tools, the identification of the Mesolithic age, that is the specific tools which are used, they are called as microlith. They are called as the microliths, or what is the meaning of microliths? Very small tools, very small stone tools, microlith, right? So here we can have this lanceolates, we can have the lunates, we have the triangular shapes, we have the trapeze, okay, we have the rectangle, and we have the rhomboid. So these are the different geometrical shapes given to the different types of the stone tools. But remember one thing, that these stone tools, they were extremely small in sizes. Some of the stone tools were as small as 4 to 6 centimeters, right? Average range of the tools, that was well within 10 centimeters. That means you can say that approximately the length of your finger, that might be somewhat similar size of the microlithic tools. Okay, everyone, these were mostly in the form of the blades and barreens. Okay, in the form of the blades and barreens, used probably for cutting and for pricking into the dead bodies of the prey. Also at the same time for using this for cracking the shells of the fruits, etc. So these small tools, they were collectively used by a lot of people who were hunting together or who were trying to gather the food together. So what does this indicate? If you are able to connect this, suppose you have got one big stone and you are trying to kill an animal. You will be throwing that stone on the animal's body and probably the animal will die. You don't need anybody else to help it, especially when you have the arrangement of the fire, or when you are able to climb the tree if suppose there is any risk. However, due to the presence of the herbivores who were increasing in the numbers because of the climatic changes, okay, the increasing number of herbivores due to the climatic changes resulted into the greater competitions among the hunters of those animals. So now human beings, they had to chase the fast running herbivores from place to place, and therefore it was more convenient to have a small group and then to go on hunting, to go on fishing, etc. So due to which we can say, due to the circumstantial changes in the Mesolithic time period, there was the emergence of the social groups. Okay, so this transition period from the old Stone Age to the new Stone Age, this transition period also witnessed not just the rearing of animals, but also the emergence of the social groupings among the human beings. So did you get the clear idea that when did the social groups emerge to be formed in the human beings or among the human beings? This time period, that was Mesolithic time period. Okay, everyone. Now, if we got the idea, so this indicates a typical Pleistocene atmosphere. Pleistocene environment was something like that, where you find hardly the presence of any vegetation, or you can just see that this entire land is, it is almost covered by ice, and there are almost every animals are there having the large furs of the hair, and this is basically called as the megafaunal structure or megafaunal composition of Pleistocene. Okay, so Pleistocene had the presence of mega size fauna, right? Mega size fauna. Okay, fauna, what is the meaning? I think all of you must be aware. Now, talking about the major sites of the Mesolithic age. So, which are the major sites, major places from where we have obtained the evidences of Mesolithic culture or Mesolithic ages? So, the Mesolithic sites are mostly located in presently semi-arid zones owing to their vicinity to the denuded rocks. So, if we consider the climate of modern areas of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, okay, Karnataka, Telangana, all right, or southern Uttar Pradesh. So if you are getting these areas, Madhya Pradesh, southern Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Telangana, so can you tell me one common thing in the climatic features, of these areas? All of these areas, they receive comparatively less rainfall at current time as compared to the other parts which are present in the proper Gangetic plains, or in the eastern parts of the country, or in the western ghats of the country, or in the southern coastal regions. They receive lesser rainfall, and at present, if they are receiving lesser rainfall, it was quite possible that even in those times as well, these areas were having less density of vegetation, okay, less density of vegetation, then sufficient grasses or grasslands and herbivores, okay. Then they also had not very large rivers, okay, and at the same time they also had the sufficient presence of the stones, okay. And let me tell you that if we are trying to make the microlithic tools, then we don't need the extremely hard stones. We need such stones which are sedimentary in the nature, or sometimes we also need such stones which are formed due to the sedimentation of the molten rocks, okay. Because if the sedimentation of the rocks will be there, or molten rocks will be there, there will be the natural flakes of the rocks present in that area. So if we take the example that which type of stones were used in the Mesolithic period to make the stone tools, the most important types were used basically jasper, chert, flint, feldspar, etc. They were the source of stone from which majority of the Mesolithic tools were formed. They were easy to work with as compared to the granite or quartzite. Granite and quartzite, these two were difficult stones to work with. If the early human beings, if they wanted to make smaller tools, they had to find the soft stone, comparatively softer stones as per the standards of quartzite, because quartzite was a very hard stone, okay. So therefore, I hope you got a clear idea that these areas where the stone was comparatively softer as compared to the quartzite, etc., those areas supported the growth of microlithic culture. Got it, everybody? So this is why at the right in the map of India you will observe that Aravalli region, Kaimur belt, or the hills of Eastern Ghats and the Vindhya ranges, etc., these were certain places where we would obtain the mentioned types of stones, and these areas will be supportive of the microlithic industries. Microlithic industries, what is the meaning of that? It means the areas where the microlithic tools, they were manufactured or they were made. Okay. Then Bagor in Rajasthan and Adamgarh in Madhya Pradesh, they have the earliest evidences of the animal rearing traceable back to 5000 to 7000 BCE. Again, as I told you, that such areas having the abundant presence of the grasses but less density of the vegetation, these areas were supportive of the herbivores as well as of the human beings. And you can also say one thing. Suppose there is a question in the mind of the students that, sir, why did the human beings start to rear the animals? So rearing the animals, that was mainly to fulfill two different needs. Okay, the first need, that is, if we talk about the needs of animal rearing, so the first need, that was the emergency source of the food. Okay, so when the people were unable to find any food, they usually slaughtered the sheep or the goat or any other small animal which they might have reared, and the slaughtering was done to obviously fulfill the fulfill the need of nutrition. However, apart from that, they also utilized these domesticated animals for the secondary purposes. Now, when I am writing here the secondary purposes, remember it, till that time, right, till those times, there was no such concept of the primary activity, secondary activity, or tertiary activity, right, like we have today, okay, like we have today. But in those times, the primary activities or the primary purpose, that was to fill the stomach. That was the most primary purpose, to survive by hook or by crook. So once the question of survival that was done away with, then the next question was that what to do alternatively, what to do apart from eating the food and digesting it. So there the human beings started the alternative uses of these domesticated animals, and most important, that was dog, which was often considered as the friend or as the you can say shepherd of the group of the animals. Sometimes these herbivores, they also helped the group of people to get an opportunity of hunting the bigger animals. Okay. Good evening, Nupur. Jai Shri Krishna. So I hope that you got the clear idea. Now, as the time was undergoing the transition and the practices were also changing after some time, so what happened? What was the result here? The result was that the sites of the Mesolithic culture, they started witnessing the earliest growth of agricultural practices, earliest growth of the pottery making, and earliest growth of the settled lifestyle of the human society. Okay, so how did it happen? What exactly led to this development? Now let us have a look on the map, and then we will have a clear idea that what was probably the reason behind the location of the Mesolithic cultural places at these areas. Okay, everyone. So Mesolithic sites in India, you can see that probably entire Aravalli region, Vindhya region, okay, then Chota Nagpur region, all right, then the foothills of Western Ghats, and at the same time again foothills of the Western Ghats and the Nilgiris as well as the Eastern Ghats. So whichever areas in India, they had the mountainous zones, they had not very huge mountains. Huge mountains did not have the presence of the Mesolithic culture. Remember, huge mountains and their foothills, they did not have the Mesolithic culture. Why so? Because the type of stone, the type of climatic conditions which they had, that was not suitable for survival of the people in that area, in that era. Okay. So here you can see, if you consider any of these areas, in fact, not just this area, but also here in Pakistan, you will find there is a place called as the Mehergarh. Okay. Somewhere in this region, there is a place called Mehergarh. Mehergarh, the climatic conditions of that area, even that is also very much similar to the climatic conditions of these areas. Okay. So that is why you will observe that eventually the sheep and the goat, which were reared primarily to hunt or primarily to help in the hunting purposes or to provide the alternative food, the sheep and the goat, their numbers, that number will start reducing as compared to the cattles, and the number of cattles that would increase slowly over the period of time. Now, if I am talking about the number of cattle, etc., that is increasing. The increasing number of cattle also indicates their utility in the agricultural practices. Okay, because apart from the utility in the agricultural practices, the cattle, they had no better uses. And why am I saying that? Because if the use of cattle was suppose it was done for the meat, for the meat and food, then what was the harm in rearing sheep or goat? Obviously, sheep and goat were much more convenient and cost friendly as compared to the cattle, if only the food was purpose. But here we are seeing that apart from food, the agricultural use was also an important purpose, and that is why we cannot use the sheep, we cannot use the goat in plowing the field. So we can say, probably we can say that might be the practice of agriculture would have started during this time period, during this transition phase from the earliest, during the 7th or 8th millennium, millennium BC. That is somewhere around 7,000, 7,500, 8,000 BCE in the area of Mehergarh. This was the observation which was conclusively accepted by the historians who were contemporary of R.S. Sharma. But currently, as per the latest informations we have, we have the evidence of agriculture that is obtained not just from Mehergarh, but also we have the evidences of agriculture obtained from places called Koldihwa and from the place called as Lahura Deva. Lahura Deva. All right, everyone. So currently there are more than one places, right? There are more than one places where we claim that probably the earliest agricultural practice started, and as per the latest and accepted fact, this is the place called Lahura Deva present in Uttar Pradesh. This has got the oldest evidence of the agricultural practice in the Indian subcontinent. Okay, everyone. Now, if we understand one thing, that agriculture started, animal husbandry has started. So naturally, the life of human beings, which was already in the Mesolithic period itself, which was already trying to develop the social bondings, trying to develop the social groupings. So naturally that society will be having the availability of food much easier as compared to the previous ages. So when the society is getting the food properly, food properly without any additional effort. So what will the society now do? Now they will be doing some recreational activities. In fact, let me tell you that if we consider the paintings as recreational activities, then Upper Paleolithic might be the suitable time when they would have started this practice. Why so? Because in that era itself, the melting of ice caps that had resulted into the sufficient availability of the foods. Growing temperature had provided them with the sufficient availability of the foods. There is a question that among three of them we have to go with which site the first evidence of agriculture. At present, the accepted answer is Lahura Deva in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, that is the answer at present. Now, I hope all of you got the clear idea that the paintings at the rock shelters, at the walls of the rocks, mountains, etc., caves, etc., that started during the Upper Paleolithic period. There is a place in Madhya Pradesh called as Bhimbetka, which gives us hundreds of the rock paintings. However, if you remember if you remember, probably one of the earliest rock paintings were discovered in India only, right? In India only. In fact, in not other district, not any other district, but in the district that is very famous, in the Mirzapur district, in the Mirzapur districts. So you might have heard about a place called as the Morena Pahad, a place called as the Morena Pahad. So Morena Pahad, that is a place in Mirzapur, and from that place, the first site where the rock paintings were made, that was discovered during the British period. Now, apart from Morena Pahad, we have also several other sites. We have also found several other sites. For example, in the districts like you can say several districts in the Bastar region, in Sarguja region, both in Chhattisgarh. Then we have similar type of rock paintings in the Madhya Pradesh. Okay, we also have similar type of rock paintings in the Karnataka and Tamil Nadu junction, that Nilgiri area. So we have the example of various places where the rock paintings have been obtained. But Bhimbetka is a very special place. Why? Because that provides probably the most abstract form of the earliest human paintings, not just in India, but also one of the earliest in the world. Here, the Bhimbetka, that is located in the Raisen district of Madhya Pradesh, it contains more than 500 paintings on the rock shelters, and these were discovered by the famous archaeologist Vishnudhar Wakankar. Okay, Vishnudhar Wakankar. Got it? So, once I think that was year was probably 1957 when the Bhimbetka sites were discovered. Good evening, Zainab. Right now, so their themes, the important thing is to understand the theme of the paintings which the early human beings were using. R.S. Sharma clearly tells us that the themes were mostly affected from the mundane events of the life. What is the meaning of the mundane events? Basically, the day-to-day activities which are connecting their life to their survival. So that's basically the theme, that's basically the subject of the paintings. Even today, if we have a free mind, if we have no religion, if we have no God, if we do not have any additional occupancy, then what will we do? We will try to make ourselves survive. Okay, make ourselves survive this world, this cruel world. All right, and the same thing was being done by the early humans as well. So they have painted the hunting scenes. They have painted the riding scenes. They have also tried to show the animals. They had tried to show the group of the human beings. Anything that is close to their daily life, that is the subject of paintings of the early human beings. Okay, and Bhimbetka contains the rock paintings ranging from the upper Paleolithic time period up to the recent time period, that means up to the Iron Age, Mahajanpad age, up to that time. Okay, now, so if we observe a few paintings, so in the few paintings you will observe that flora and fauna are also depicted, and not just that, there is a particular incidence where the birds which are perching on the grains, that is shown. Meaning of the birds, right, birds perching on the grains, basically that indicates that grains were probably available at that time, which means the agriculture was being practiced, or there might be at least some knowledge among the human beings about the existence of some grains which might be in the earliest phase of their evolution. Okay, so that is why we can say that these paintings probably belonged to the agricultural time. But apart from the birds perching on the grains, there are many other paintings, as you can see behind me. This particular painting, it simply indicates few animals, right? Probably one person is holding some log or some spear kind of thing. Then there are animals which are depicted on the surface of this rock. Okay, on the surface of this rock. Apart from that, you can also see this particular painting. Okay, this particular painting here. This indicates the human beings, but they are drawn linearly with the help of lines, And you can also observe these human beings. Probably this is a scene which is trying to show a battle or something. Okay, a battle or something. You can see here this or even this person, they are riding the horses, holding some sort of weapon into their hands. And here also you can see this might be the commander or the king holding the strongest weapon, as well as the horse is also wearing some decorated cloth cover probably. All right. And here they are holding the spears. Some of them are holding the spears here. Okay. Probably I think one more person, sorry. So you can see that this might be relatively a recent picture. Therefore, do not be confused by looking at this picture, that if this picture is made on the rocks of Bhimbetka, so definitely India already had a very grown up culture, grown up civilization. That does not prove, okay, this picture does not prove this type of hypothesis. Okay, everyone. Now, talking about this scenery, so this scenery indicates probably a human having a bow and arrow type of structure and most probably targeting an animal, which might be a horse or a wild ass or maybe a stag or anything that could be. Okay, so this is simply showing a hunting scene here. All right. Now the question arises, even in the background of this slide, you can see that this is also showing probably any hunting scene only. Right. So the question arises that why did the Stone Age people practice art? Okay. Why did they practice art? What was the reason? Were they so artistic, or were they having so much of spare time to practice the arts, etc.? So let me tell you that historians, there are two opinions about it. What do the historians think? There are two different opinions about it. The first opinion is that they probably practiced the art. They had interest in the art. Now this is a oversimplification. Why? Because obviously they did not have any interest in art or something in such a time when survival was a big question for them. So initial most paintings might be the, you can say, process of learning or process of teaching to the younger generation about the structure or about the methodology of hunting. Okay, so in the earliest phase we can have this type of conclusion. You can have your own conclusion, but given that you will have to justify your argument with proper references or proper examples. There might be another feature that was a reason behind their creative side. Who knows that these paintings probably contained simple depictions of their day-to-day life. As we had said in the beginning of this lecture, their day-to-day life, and like any child, they also had this curiosity to reflect whatever coming in their mind. So they chose the colors, they chose the brushes or the sticks to represent that mindset which they were having. The most important thing to note down about the paintings of the early human beings, that is, they used the natural pigments such as the vegetable dyes, sometimes the specific type of soil, for example a soil variant called as geru, that was widely used as the material of painting on the surfaces of Bhimbetka rocks. Okay, everyone. So you might have heard about it. What do we call it as? Right, call it as in English ochre. Okay, ochre. So ochre is basically a type of soil only. Right? That is only. So the animal paintings were largely realistic, but they became conventional during the Harappan civilization. So we can say that probably in the human culture, in the Indian subcontinent, in the human culture, this practice was the beginning of depiction of the animals in the day-to-day life related activities of the human beings. So animals, they had become the part of cultural representation of the human beings. Animals, they became the symbolic representative of the power, of the fear, of the virtue, threat, and so many other behavioral aspects of the human life. They were showcased, they were represented with the help of the animals. And historians argue that probably this practice of representing the various aspects of life via the paintings of animals, that went on to be continued, and that continued to be represented in the Harappan civilization also, where the people started showcasing or depicting the animals on the Harappan seals. Are you getting the point? Everybody, yes or no, kindly confirm it. Right? I hope you are all understanding this point here. Right. Now coming to the next part, the earliest human organization. So as we saw that human beings started living in the groups, started living together in the groups, hunting together, rearing the animals, etc. So they were organized into the bands or pre-band organizations. These are the conclusions, some conclusions based upon certain evidences. So band or pre-band. Pre-band means there was no such specific group, and the individuals were temporarily getting together for a particular task, and then they were simply disposed off to their own locations. But the bands of the people, that simply started having the permanent groups, like the animals like elephant, they have the groups. The animals like lions or tigers, no, not tiger but lions mostly, they have the group. Okay, so here also you can see the human beings too, they had the band. The bands were formed for the group hunting, probably consisted of 25 men, and mutual alliances among the various bands, that was also practiced. In fact, some of the bands started practicing exogamy. What did they do? They started practicing exogamy. That means they will not establish the conjugal relations with the females of the same band, but they will go to the other band. If you combine the animal feature and the human nature together, even today you can see that most of the social animals, they practice exogamy only. They do not try, to you can say have or establish the sexual relations with the group, with the females of the same group. Right now, they leave the group, then they go on wandering, and then thereafter they search for a different partner, and then they create the new band. This is the common practice. You might have seen the Discovery Channel, you might have seen the National Geographic, etc. This is how the animal psyche that works. And the human beings were also having the very primitive psyche at that moment, and they were also working in a similar fashion. Somehow this practice also remained in continuous function in the human society. Even today we are doing the same. Okay, so that might be the initial or the earliest beginning of the exogamy practices in human society. Okay, now apart from that, the alliances and the bands were probably supported by the use of the languages which might have originated during the Upper Paleolithic age. So the use of language. What is the meaning of this? Were the human beings not speaking to each other, not speaking anything to each other before Paleolithic period? nobody knows clearly about it, but the historians have assumed that if there was the exogamy or there was the proper settled life that was going on, so definitely they needed the communication among the two different groups or between the two different societies. So that's why probably they might have developed certain codes or certain fixed methods or fixed indications of communication that resulted into the birth of languages in the human society. Got it, everyone? So I hope that all of you got to understand it very, very clearly. Now the Mesolithic will be slowly turning into the Neolithic culture, where you can see this map, early food producing cultural complexes, right? So Indo-Iranian borderland culture, this place is one of the earliest. Then here you can see the Gangetic plains, all right? So Vindhyan Gangetic ranges, one of the earliest, all right? Then here you can see the Indus culture, this region, West Central Indian complex, this one, Ganges culture, this, okay? So these are the early food producing cultural complexes present in the Indian subcontinent, and these are the places, right? Most probably the places where such cultures, they existed, where we can see the presence of Neolithic features. Okay, everybody? So Mehergarh, located in the Balochistan at the banks of the Bolan River, is regarded as the largest Neolithic site between Indus and Mediterranean region. The Mehergarh is the largest Neolithic site. That's why it is very, very famous. Features of Neolithic. So today we are doing the features of Neolithic in a short way, but in the tomorrow's class we will be doing it in a comprehensive manner. Okay. So Neolithic settlers produced the cereals like wheat and barley, domesticated the animals like sheep, goat, cattle, etc. Eventually the cattle outnumbered the goats and assisted the agricultural growth. So the cattle became a prime factor in deciding the growth of agriculture, and cereals were produced through the agriculture. They were also produced in surplus, which required the storage, and the requirement of the storage that led to the formation of granaries, and formation of granaries that led to the beginning of bricklaying. And the bricks, okay, the bricks, initially they were used in the form of mud bricks. Mud bricks were basically the loaf of soil that was given a proper shape, and it was sun dried, okay, sun baked. So that is how the you can say mud bricks were used. Agriculture expanded rapidly around 4500 to 3500 BCE, and when agriculture expanded rapidly, remember that earlier the entire society or entire group of the human beings, they had some surplus. So that's why a particular granary was enough to store the surplus grains. But when agriculture started growing even at more rapid pace, then the surplus was available at different families, at the level of different families. Okay, so this is why when the surplus will be there in the family level, then the need of the storage pottery will be arriving. Okay, and the potteries, if we talk about the earliest presence of potteries, again we have to go back to the Mesolithic period. The places like Langhanaj in Gujarat or Sarai Nahar Rai in Uttar Pradesh, these places have some of the earliest evidences related to the presence of pottery in the Indian subcontinent. Okay, and apart from that, the Neolithic culture, that agricultural communities in the Bolan Hakra regions, they further expanded to result into the formation of Harappan settlements. So the map that I showed to you in the previous page, here it is. So these cultures, they eventually led to the expansion of agricultural activities, and later on the formation of the Harappan culture, developing into the Harappan or Indus Saraswati civilization, that was a direct result of the agrarian growth observed in the Neolithic settlements. Some of the Neolithic settlements, they could not witness the level of agricultural growth due to certain reasons. Those areas, they could not develop into a new civilization, but Harappan region, that developed into a civilization. Got it, everybody? So this is the map showing the Neolithic sites. You can see the Neolithic sites are primarily in similar regions, but they are a little bit more consolidated as compared to the Mesolithic time period. Okay, everybody? So guys, I hope that this picture also clearly showcases the practices in a Neolithic settlement where the huts are there. Okay, the weaving is taking place, the pottery is there, the cooking is taking place. Typical rural life of Neolithic period. Got it, everybody? So guys, that is all in today's session, and I hope that you will be definitely getting yourself enrolled for our P2I batches. And if you are using this code, as I told you, you will be getting this course at rupees 29,999. And the most important part is that here you are going to get a mains residential program. That means the focus will not be just on the prelims or any other thing, but also the mains will be given due focus, where you will be given a call to come and stay at StudyIQ campus, and we will be offering you the studying facility, library, etc. and the mains classes as well, just in this much. So how will you get that? Use this code ASR Live. So guys, thank you so much for watching this session, and I hope that if this session was definitely useful for all of you. Do not forget to share the link of this session on your different social media portals, so that your friends and colleagues or the fellow aspirants can also see this, can also watch it and learn it, and be present tomorrow as well. At the same time, 4 p.m. I will be coming up with the Neolithic period. And thanks a lot for watching it once again. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.